Bon, malgré que les femmes aussi n'acceptent pas, mais pour les hommes, c'est vraiment, ils se voient qu'ils ne voient rien vraiment.
Mbele yanzi anaanzaka tia kidole mbili, tia kidole mbili kunisi. Njoo sasa pale nikasikia maumivu nakuwa mingi sana. Njoo sasa nikapoteza akili, njoo sasa kansa akaviona.
Mais ils sont violés par les deux. Il y a des femmes qui droguent les hommes, surtout les femmes combattantes. On a connu les cas qui a drogué les hommes pour les violer aussi. Donc, pour les autres, c'est par derrière. Et d'ailleurs, c'est plus les cas qu'on a enregistrés. Il y a des hommes qui les violent par derrière pour les humilier.
Et c'est ce qui aggrave les traumatismes. Cette fois-là aussi, et devient aussi objet de culpabilisation, objet de moquerie par les autres hommes, que ce soit par les autres femmes.
Nikamuonesha kidole, njoo huyu mali ni baka, njoo. Mimi nashtukia kama wagonjwa, mimi si kama sasa ni maladi gani.
Yes, thank you for tuning in. You are watching the Trinity Show here on West Nile TV. And wherever you are catching us from, you're most welcome this afternoon. Today we are going to talk about something very, very interesting. And that is gender-based violence. We're supposed to have it the other week, but as a result of, technical engagements here and there, we could not have it. But we are back today with a very, very interesting topic. And that is sexual and gender-based violence against men and boys. That is very odd, right? It has a result because usually in our society today we don't hear people openly talking about that. It has always been gender-based violence against girls, gender-based violence against boys. And the video that has just faded has given us an example of some of the things that men are silently dying with, our young boys are silently dying with, and nobody is talking about it. So today we are going to discuss about the different forms of gender-based violence against men. What are men going through that actually we don't know, and why are we silent about it? If you were to look at the different institutions and the different, organizations coming up, it looks as if, gender-based violence against men, as if it's not happening. But the reality is that it is happening, and it's here in our society today. The very, very heartbreaking story that we've just heard from the fading video, tells it, or it just tells us a glimpse of what is actually happening in our society today. So today that is what we'll be discussing. So in case you are a man out there and you are a boy out there, or you are related to this in any way, you could be a mother, you could be a sister, you could have male colleagues or male friends. It will be very nice if you're part of us, if you join us in the comment section and, with your input, what do you think about sexual and gender-based violence against men? And don't forget to share this widely, because you never know who could benefit from this from your timeline. Now, I'm very happy to introduce our guest today. He's here with us, and Mr. Eli Nayenda, you are most welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Trinity.
Mr. Eli Nayenda, kindly introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us who you are, what you do, and why is this topic, why is it very relevant to you?
Yeah, thank you so much, Trinity and West Nile TV. As she has said, I'm Eli Nayenda. I'm a born again. I'm proud to say that I'm a Mlokole, a married man to one woman, a wife. And God has blessed us with the 3 children. I work as a canon in the Church of Uganda in my West Nile Diocese, actually just behind this broadcasting place. Some 3 minutes walk is to the cathedral where I do pray and serve. I am very interested and excited about this opportunity. I have been hearing about the West Nile TV, but being in it and part of it is quite amazing. Sexual and gender-based violence against men and boys is a sensitive subject. It is a silent crisis, as some people have referred to. around 2014 in Darfur, during an engagement between aid workers and the men in Darfur who were victims of the Darfur war, they raised a very serious issue and said, you know what, you development partners, implementing partners, humanitarian organizations, you are doing so much for the women. You are doing so much in the area of women empowerment. You are giving the women hope. And yet you are forgetting we, the men, we are seriously suffering. That video is looking at a situation of conflict, a war situation. In war situation, in a conflict situation, men and boys are the greatest sufferers. But in a non-conflict, the non-war situation, men and women, men and boys also have their own brand of suffering. And that's why the sexual and gender-based violence against men and boys becomes serious subject. Different organizations, for example, the Interagency Standing Committee Task Force on Gender and Humanitarian, defines gender-based violence as any harm inflicted on a person because of that person's gender. Because either a man, a woman. But UNFPA goes further to say that, yes, it is this pain, this harm, coercion you have inflicted on somebody because of his gender opportunity, his gender role, his gender responsibility. That's why he's going through that kind of violence or that kind of sexual violence. And the gender handbook, the gender-based violence handbook also agrees that yes, any conflict you have inflicted, any harm you have inflicted on somebody because he's a man or a woman, in this case our interest is the men, becomes a gender-based violence. And when it has a sexual connotation, then becomes sexual gender-based violence. And many authors, many people look at the two as the same thing. They look at the two as related. Now, why is this very important? It's important because we are looking at power struggles between the two genders. I know when you go to another school of thought, gender goes into around 4, 5, 6, 7 different aspects. But for now, for the sake of this thing, we should focus on the two.
On the two, yeah.
The man
and the woman.
And the woman. So when you look at certain level, they are saying this issue of gender violence or sexual gender-based violence is all about power struggles between the man
and the woman.
And actually, in my presentation, I quoted Ephesians chapter 5, verse 20 to 23, 25. I'll talk about it maybe towards the end. God giving me time and memory.
Yeah.
But traditionally, particularly for those of us who are in Africa, we know that the man is considered head of the family. The Bible even says so.
Yeah.
The man is considered head of the family, and the woman is looked at as a helper. Now, some people take it further than just what I've said. Instead of being the head of the family, he becomes like the dictator of the family.
The family, yeah.
So the woman becomes the servant of the family. Now, when this power relation turns round, for many reasons, it could be the reason that the woman is more empowered. She has gone to school. You got her when maybe she was a housewife, not educated, but now she has a diploma, she has a degree. Maybe she's even more educated than you. So because of that education exposure, she's more empowered and she has certain things that she knows you don't know. So that power relations begins to change. The woman becomes like in charge. It could be economic. The woman went into business and she has made money. She has more money than you. It could be business she's doing. So economically, she commands authority and respect in the family. So that makes her
to start violating or to start oppressing and all that.
Now, when that word violation comes, that word oppression comes, therefore it's now the violence.
It's violence.
The man now feels, oh, I am in trouble. I am not exercising my usual authority. I'm no longer in charge. My rights are being violated. I'm being mistreated. I'm being hurt. I'm being harmed. And that becomes gender-based violence
Gender-based
against the man.
against
The
the
boys
men.
is another whole long story.
Mm.
So I would like to stop here for now.
Yeah.
But this is a critical matter, and the development world, this is becoming a serious matter. Actually, they refer to it as a silent crisis. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Nayenda. Now, as we all know what gender-based violence is, you know, even in some scholarly documents, you find gender-based violence is used synonymously with gender-based violence against men and women. Oftenly, people don't consider men as victims. Yeah, they don't consider, like, maybe there could be a certain state or a certain case where men could be victims. And you find that our men and boys are always considered as the perpetrators of violence other than, you know, victims. And women are always considered as, you know, the very peaceful angels who cannot harm anyone, and they are always the victims. They're the ones who are always hurt, you know, in the process. And as a result, I think that does not coordinate well with equality. You see, we cannot preach about equality when we neglect, like, the other gender. Yeah, you know, when you're talking about equality, it means that somehow it needs to balance. Now, don't quote us wrong. You know, we are not trying to justify gender-based violence against women and girls in any way. Neither are we trying to say that maybe they are balancing. No, they are not balancing. Women have suffered a lot, and girls have suffered a lot, you know, as a result of our cultural background, and even the religion brings it up, how women usually are. So you find that women have gone through a lot, and it's just of recent that women are being empowered. You see, we are having women leaders around. We are having ladies whose voices are heard, whose voices are being heard. It's just of recent that those developments, the developments are coming up. But often it has been women on the side of being victims. But that does not eliminate, it does not eliminate the fact that men, at certain points, there are some examples, or there are some cases where men could also be, victims of gender-based violence, and women could be the ones also inflicting it on them. Yeah, we are not saying it's always, but there are certain cases where such things happen. Now, if you're to look at gender-based violence against men, yeah, people are not talking about it. Even if you're to search and search, if you're to look for something connecting to gender-based violence, you will always get, information relating to women, relating to girls, so many things connecting to. What could be the problem? Why are the men, actually the men who are also going through these things, why are they silent about it, and why are we keeping quiet? Why is the society not, giving it the attention and the action that it deserves?
I will give a direct answer, but also elaborate at length. One direct response is, as you had just said, men feel we're in charge. So to say that I'm a victim of gender-based violence means that my authority has gone low. So there's the fear to report. There's the fear to expose yourself, that, hey, you also suffer this. So that in itself is an issue. But the bigger picture is that this issue is not widely reported. It's not widely reported, maybe because nobody has brought it up. But it's a serious matter, and it is gaining scale. Let me just share a few examples. During the lockdown, this COVID lockdown, between March and where we are now,
in September,
when this matter picked up seriously. Yes, the violence against women and girls continued to be escalated, but also the issue of violence against men became an issue. One, men who used to depend on daily, weekly income, when they got locked down, they could not sustain that economic position. So the woman who is involved in her small roadside business kept doing her work. So it's like she became the economic powerhouse of the economic powerhouse. Then she's able to ask the man, I thought you were the one in charge here. Thought you are the bread earner. Why not performing your role? So this made the man feel, so you are demeaning my authority.
Demeaning the authority.
And in that case, the man became the victim. And that's why probably you had some places, man commits suicide, or a man decides to hack his family just because he has gone through that emotional, psychological violence. Further to that, we had situations where the man and the woman didn't stay together at home for long. The man will arrive at night, 10 o'clock, by 6 o'clock he's off to work. But now you are here at home with your wife. Actually, somebody said you are seeing each other, you cannot talk, you cannot communicate, and men easily become shy by the way. So what the lady does appears to be intimidating to you. You feel you are being harassed sexually. So that became an issue. That became an issue. So this issue of sexual violence against men is a serious matter. I also wanted to give a few examples I have witnessed myself, either in my neighborhood or in my career path. I'm a teacher by profession. We had instances where a male teacher, his wife is a housewife, but this gentleman had instructions from this wife only to walk from his home to the class and back to his home. So each time, and you as a teacher, you need to interact with your colleagues professionally, you need to meet your children, you need to sit in the staff room, but the order from home is come to school, teach your lesson, and she has the timetable. The lessons from 9 to 11, it's done, 10 minutes you're at home. The moment you don't come, you are beaten, you are harassed, all sorts of things are done to you. This gentleman suffered for long, to the extent that he even became a non-performer because of that problem.
Because of that problem at home.
This is just one incident, and this is a professional. We have had a scenario where some colleague lost his job, and the wife was the income earner. She was the bread earner at home. So because this gentleman has lost his job, the wife I want to use the word subject in quotes, subjected him to all the domestic work. You're the one washing, you're going to cook, you're going to market, you're going to bathe the children, you take them to school. This was somehow traumatizing for the gentleman, to the extent that even the house help could not respect him. This was very traumatic. It was not until he got another job that's when, probably when, these are just, the last scenario I could cite is maybe very close to our heart. Sexual violence is, men naturally want to marry younger women. Now, the moment the woman you have married is much younger, and sexually you cannot satisfy her because of the big age difference, the woman who is empowered will say, but you man, you're a non-performer in bed. And that can be very, very hurting to the man, that you can't perform. And this is the most extreme scenario of sexual gender-based
violence against men.
The man, by this woman, that you're a non-performer. You can't satisfy me. So this is a serious matter. And many men are quietly going through this phase. No wonder you find someone has just died in bed. What happened? Maybe stroke. It's the trauma. You have been keeping it. You have been keeping it in your heart. You can't release it to somebody to support you. And you die. So it is a serious matter. Men are going through it. And because of our cultural setting, when the man has died, the family goes through so much. Because what is known as the family is the man.
Yeah.
What they call suru in the Lugba language is actually the man. So when the suru has died, the family is subjected to more complicated problems. That's why the issue of sexual gender-based violence against men should be taken seriously. Yeah.
Now, here on the comment section, we are having Donia Prudence, who is saying that thank you for the show. The more male gender is involved in ending GBV, the easier GBV can be ended. Most times, male are neglected. Yeah, thank you so much, Donia. And then Aikobwa Bernard is saying that this is what I've been waiting for. Thank you, Aikobwa. Asega Edward, thank you for following us from Nebi. Baka, thank you for following us. And Sydney, thank you for following us. Now, going straight away to the forms of gender-based violence against men. Of course, there are very many forms of gender-based violence against men. And that is what I want, that's what we'll be discussing shortly. You find that people don't believe that actually men go through certain forms of gender. You know, we usually think that men are demigods, or, you know, nothing can hurt them, nothing can harm them. You know, real men don't cry. You know, we've had such phrases, yeah? Real men don't cry. Even if you find when a boy child is growing, you know, the boy child hurts himself in a process, and the mother tells him, you know, shut up, you're not a girl. Why would you be crying like that?
A man, don't cry.
Yeah, you know, you're a man, don't cry. And then you find even when they grow up, you know, if you hear that maybe a man has been beaten up by the wife, everyone will be like, man, are you a man? Even the peers themselves, you know, will try to stigmatize him, and other than taking the whole issue seriously, you know, they will be questioning, but man, you eat inya and you know, you eat all those things, and you're from West Nile. How can a woman beat a Lugbara man, or how can a woman beat a Madi man, or, you know, a Kakwa man who is very strong and all that? So because of such things, and, you know, the discrimination and stigma, we tend to think men are invisible. You know, they are the ones who have to be the protectors of the family. They're the ones who have to be the providers of the family. They have to do all these things without breaking down, or without, you know, falling down.
Without being
and
human.
Yeah, yeah. And as a result, you find somehow as if we've embraced it, we've made it normal, to the point that even the men themselves, they might not know that this is violence, like something, this is not something that is normal, and this is something that needs serious attention. And you find that because they don't seek for attention earlier, you find that it's already too late. He has entered into depression, he has entered into, you know, substance abuse, into alcohol and all that, and it's too late. Others even end up committing suicide, or transferring the anger to the woman and the children. You find they have stabbed the whole family, and you know, they transfer the anger and all that. So gender-based violence against men is something that is very, very serious, and something that needs to be paid attention to. Now, from the perspective of men, what are the different forms of gender-based violence that you men go through? And even our viewers out there, you can, you know, contribute to this. What do you think are the different forms and examples of gender-based violence that men and boys go through? You know, as the ladies and, you know, the women and the girls, you might not even know that indirectly we are maybe hurting someone, you know, or we might also know that really we are hurting someone. But what are those forms of violence that you think is happening in our society today that really needs to be talked about?
Let me begin with emotional and psychosocial violence. We say women talk a lot. Actually, they say the woman talks like 1,000 words in less than a minute, but the man will say less than 100 words.
100 words.
In the process of saying all that, you make statements that demean this man, subjecting him to emotional pain or harm, psychological pain or harm. Women are so smart, they can leave you here and turn it to the things around home. And say, "Aumi mi pa onjil kanyawadi." And yet, I don't know whether you understand Lugbara.
Yes, very well.
This cock with your ugly legs, but this cock has the same legs like the other one. It's actually referring to this cock called the man.
The man, so abusive.
So that touches the man. Those that talk will talk about it. Those that don't talk will keep it to themselves. So the way women talk can be gender-based violence
against men.
The man. And this creates emotional pain. This is very common. But it is good for women to talk. The only thing we now need to manage is how do we turn the talk into a kind of dialogue. The second is the physical violence. Physical in the sense that, but there are women who are stronger than the men.
Their husbands.
They are there. So you can be slapped in the house. You can be pushed. You will keep quiet about it because the moment you go out and you see some men, this common saying in Prema that you are big for nothing. You see there are some men who look big but actually they are weak. They are weak. So if your family is bred on violence, on beating, pushing, and yet you as the man, you're weak. You will go through that.
Hurt yourself, yeah.
You go through that pain. There's the issue of economic violence. socioeconomic violence.
Violence.
When women become empowered,
Mm.
it takes humility. Say that, you know what, I have more money than you, but we are going to grow this family together. I like telling people, for very many years, my wife earned more money than me, for almost like 7 years.
Mm.
But there was no point in time my wife would say that, you know what, your money here is so little and I'm in charge.
I'm in charge.
Say, you know what, I'll put this money, I'll buy this, I'll buy this, I'll buy this. Take charge of that.
Mm.
That is promoting coexistence. People have said, you man, you cannot afford to take care of your family.
Mm.
So that is a serious issue of violence. And then the issue of sexual violence.
Mm.
This happens really intimate between the two. And
intimate partner violence.
yes,
That's what they call it.
the woman who wants to talk may tell it to her friends, but the man will suffer with it quiet.
Mm.
Will suffer with it quiet. Will go through it very quiet. So these are some of the quick forms that come in my mind. One is what they call harmful traditional practices, which mostly affects women.
Mm.
But on the side of men, I don't want to say so much the issue of bread wealth.
Mm.
They're saying you pay 15 animals for this lady, and yet economically you cannot afford. You feel intimidated, you feel hurt, undermined. But these are traditional practices. That is another story altogether.
Mm.
But the bottom line is that men are going through harm.
Mm.
Men are going through torture because of being a man.
Mm.
And we have only looked at the side of this coming from the woman. It also becomes from another man.
From another man,
Yeah. So it comes from another man. But we are looking at really in a domestic setting.
The domestic setting, yeah.
Yes. And they say this violence can be by an individual in the house.
Mm.
It could be by the family, because the family wants to treat. I know scenarios where you have lost your job and the children say, but daddy cannot do this, daddy cannot afford this.
Mm.
Daddy cannot pay our fees. So we better go to mommy.
Mm.
This is very torturous. It's at family level. It could be at community level.
Mm.
It could be at society level. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, looking at those different forms of gender-based violence against men, you know, physical, psychological, economic, and sexual violence. Just to bring in the other side of, you know, the bride price bit of it a little more. You know, our culture, you know, if you don't go home and officially ask for the lady's hand in marriage and pay all these cows and all these goats, you know, no one will respect you at home. Yeah, no one will respect you.
You're not a man.
You know, you're not a man and all that. So, is this violence, or it is a man's responsibility to actually, you know, do all those things?
Very difficult question when it comes to bread wealth.
Mm.
We call it bread wealth, bread price,
Price,
and this
yeah.
is the typical of African traditional
African
practice.
tradition, yeah.
Traditionally, whatever was charged was what was within the means of that
community.
So they knew that yes, Trinity, you are going to marry John.
Mm.
John, Trinity's family and John's family know already the expected charges of the bride wealth.
Of the bride wealth.
So you know it.
Mm.
But what is happening now is a completely different thing.
Different.
It is now turning towards business, turning towards exploitation, turning towards hurt. How do you tell a man whose family know very well they don't even have a goat? You are telling them, please, we want 25 goats, we want 15 cows, or 15 herds of cattle, we want 15 million shillings. But look at the house they are living in. Look at the work this man is doing. I not subject this man to torture. I not subject this man to pain, leave alone what your daughter will go through. So, bread wealth needs to be more of appreciation. And I'm yet to be, my thoughts yet to be disputed. There is no man in Africa, no man in Uganda, no man in West Nile who will stand out and say, you know what, I am rich because all my daughters got married and was paid bread wealth. Never. It's even a form of torture for the family of the girl. So we need to question and interrogate the issue of bread wealth.
Of bread
Seriously.
wealth.
perpetuating both violence against the men
And also against
and the women,
the women.
depending on who has taken the upper hand.
Yeah, and you see, oftentimes we've had stories in our society where after paying all the bride wealth and all that, so the man looks at the lady as a commodity. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So after all,
I bought you. Yeah.
And now you're in my home, so you have no right to say anything. In case you say anything, you kind of receive slaps and kicks and all that. So maybe bride wealth is something that the cultural leaders and the different institutions should also take in charge.
I can tell you the church attempted to take interest, particularly the Catholic Church. 2000 and I think 1997 or 6. I remember the Catholic Church in one of their meetings, either synod or council, actually decreed that bride wealth should not exceed a certain number of animals. I think was it 4 or 6. People said, priests, if you are the one marrying, then you can go ahead with it. But if, as long as priests are not marrying, it is our business, not your business. They say things of the generals live for the generals. So priests, the issue of bride wealth, leave it to us.
Now, so bride wealth is also something that most men are considering has violence against them, and especially if it leans to the side of being exploitative. You find someone cannot afford something and then you force him to do that. So if we are preaching equality, maybe we need to consider reconsider some forms of cultural practices, the traditional cultural practices that look to be the things that are not balancing the both very well. Now, leaving bride wealth aside, coming to sexual violence, if you're to look at the Constitution of Uganda, I was very surprised to actually find this out, that if you're to look at the Constitution of Uganda, and if you're to look at rape is part of sexual violence, and it happens to both men and women. The video that we had just watched at the beginning gives us a clear example of how there are some men who suffer. Others are even they go through their sodomized by other men, and even women can drag them up, and all those things happen. You find they blackmail you, and there's so many things happen, and you find that a man can also be raped. But if you were to go to the Constitution of Uganda, sadly, the definition of rape, it's feminine. It's strictly, it connects to when you sexually assault a lady or a girl without her consent, or when you force her into it, after intimidation and all that. What do you think about this loophole in the Constitution of Uganda? Is legal reforms somehow not considering men, gender-based violence against men? Are they considering men as if they cannot be, affected by this? What do you think on that?
I'm not very conversant with that, but all I can say in this perspective is that yes, we need to have reforms on some of our laws, especially if they are lopsided. They only favor one side of the gender. Whether it is the constitution can be amended. We have the Domestic Violence Act. We have the famous Marriage and Divorce Bill. That can help to highlight some of the lacunas in the constitution. That's if it is constitutionally right. So one of the mitigation measures on issues of sexual gender violence is to look at the laws. What does exist in legal framework? If there's one that has gaps, can it be amended? Can it be reviewed? Or can other supporting laws be in place to ensure that that aspect of the law is executed? When you look at that rape law, I think there's something either put there as etc. I need to look at it again. I need to look at that part of the constitution again. But there's a small clause there that allows even the man to be considered when it comes to rape.
Okay.
It's a small area that I need to look at. I didn't look at that part of the constitution, but that aspect is there. I want to believe. Maybe those who are listening to us can give us information in terms of that aspect.
On that aspect. Okay. Yeah. Now, leaving that aspect aside, when it comes to economic violence, I had a discussion with a few men, around me, and they talked about the expectation of the society is actually violence against men. That the society expects it expects men to be, economically, you have to be on some
the
level,
provider.
as compared to your female counterpart. Yeah, you're the one who has to provide everything for the family. You find that your wife, she's maybe not working, she's not doing all that, but it's a must that you have to take care of all the financial needs of the home. And that is how you find they are raised up right from the beginning. You find boys are raised up to take on that matter, to be the financial, to be the breadwinners of the home. And someone was telling me that that is also exploitative. Why don't we raise both the men and the ladies so that when it reaches a point of, providing for the family, it will be equal? What do you think about that?
You're absolutely right. And I want to say the men are not only the victims, but they're the perpetrators of this kind of practice. The moment you begin to thump your chest, I am in charge, so be it, take charge. So when there's economic downtown, stand your ground. But if our society valued the woman like the man, then we'll be talking about equity, we'll be talking about equality. We'll be talking about us being contributing partners to this family estate. I am earning 2 million, this is the money. My wife is earning 1.8 million, this is the money. Put it together, it is our money, not my money. That changes the society perspective. But as long as we are looking at, I'm in charge, this house is built in my name, not the names of our family. So when the responsibility is square left in your hands and you don't have the means, don't turn around and say I'm being violated. So it's paradoxical, but we need a change of mindset. We need a change of attitude. We need a change of perception that yes, let's come together as partners. The man and the woman, we are partners to contribute to this family estate. Everything begins from the family. Actually, the Chinese have a saying that the country is as good as the family. The country is as good as the family. So if within the family there is no sexual gender-based violence against the men, it will be the same thing in the community, it will be the same thing in the country.
All right. So quickly, we've discussed so much about gender-based violence against men and the different forms, the different
Let me just say something very little. I want to bring some statistics from Uganda Bureau of Statistics, from the Uganda Demographic Health Survey. It says that when you look at the when you look at sexual violence against men, the Muslims are the greatest sufferers. When you look at sexual violence based on religion, West Nile, I'm looking at northern Uganda, West Nile, Acholi and Lango. Acholi men are the greatest sufferers when you compare to West Nile and Lango. When you look at ethnicity, tribes, the Aluru men suffer the most from sexual violence. Yes, this is what the UBO statistics says, 2016. They look at actual the list at 4.6%. When you look at education, it is saying that men who have level of primary and secondary education suffer the most from sexual gender-based violence. So it tells you this is an issue that we should take interest in because it's going to affect society. It's going to affect the normal running of society. So it is something very serious that I thought we'll need to think through.
Yeah. Thank you for the statistics. Now, as we are almost coming to an end of this, we've talked about so much, the different forms, the examples that we've already shared, and why we think the society is very silent about it. So, just briefly, what do you think can be done to address gender-based violence against men? Because this is something that is happening, people are not talking about it. What do you think, both on the side of the victims and the side of the perpetrators and even the different institutions that work with this?
I want to propose the following one. It looks funny, but can we be preventive? Can we prevent sexual gender-based violence by ensuring that power relations are handled. That's the complex one. But number two, I want to say that let's recognize that sexual gender-based violence is an issue. Because when we recognize it, it's just like the doctor saying, yes, this is a problem, we have diagnosed it, then we can treat it. You can't treat a disease you have not diagnosed. So let's recognize it. This is a problem. Let's do counseling. Let's talk to both parties, the victims and the perpetrator.
Yeah.
Let's look at referral. If I'm going through a problem, can we refer it to the family court? Can we refer it to the elders court in the community? Can we refer it to the civil court? So referral pathways are very important. We also need to look at treatment and support to give to victims.
To victims.
Yes. Can we treat them than letting them remain silent? Can we document some of these sexual gender-based violence issues?
Yeah.
People know that, yes, this is
something that is happening.
I would love documentation of this kind of issues, right, even from LC1. The LC1 of my village. How many people are going through this? Have you taken interest in that? The churches, my cathedral here in Vara, can you take interest in Congo zone, in Zambia zone, in Guru Asel, that mosque next to Adwa Islamic? Can you take interest? How many are going through this kind of violence? Can you take interest and document it? As you do this, you begin to see the magnitude of the problem. And this makes you to want to solve it. Finally, we just need to reach a level of mutual empowerment of both men and women. As we are pushing with women empowerment, let's also not forget men empowerment, or men enhancement in terms of their capabilities. And that's why I want to conclude with Ephesians chapter 5, verse 20, that says, woman, submit to your husband. And the submission is not that you are lying down saying you are my king. No. Saying, yes, I respect you. We are going to serve each other. Woman, submit to your husband. Husband, love your wife. And love in the Bible means love in the Bible means it covers everything. There's nothing like you saying my woman is bad, my woman doesn't produce, my woman does this. It covers a multitude of sins. So you cover all her inadequacies, all her strength, you acknowledge it. It's because of love. That's why the Bible says Jesus died for us. We are sinners. We are wrong people. He died for us. So you equally die for your woman. Even if the society says she's bad, die for her. So that is another remedy. But this is at individual society level. But you could have this at programmatic level. Government. Government take interest. This just like you talked about the laws, the constitutional provision, the other supporting laws. We who are working with NGOs, can we take violence against men as an issue? I know donors are interested to fund things that are big, but violence against men and boys is a serious matter. They only support it in war situations. That's why in Congo it's a serious matter being supported. In Darfur, where there's war, in Somalia. But when you come to a country peaceful like Uganda, where there's no war, not many organizations will want to put money in it. But it's a serious matter. You need to pay attention to it, because when a man is violated, the family will suffer.
That's right.
But I will also want to add, when a woman is violated, the whole clan suffers. So this is my conclusion, really.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Elena Yenda. It's been great having you here. And even to our audience, with this we've come to an end. We believe that you have learned so much from this. So Mr. Elena Yenda, we hope to have you back again, to talk about such things, because that is what we need. In fact, as a Trinity platform, this is what we do. We want to get your stories. What do you think about, your ideas, your solutions to the different socio-economic issues, not only affecting West Nile, but humanity, because what we talk about here, right now, yes, our focus is West Nile, but we never know who is watching and who could, who could pick, something, one or two from it. So thank you so much. We hope to have you
for the
again.
Invitation.
Yeah. So to our viewers, it's been great having you here. We hope you've learned, a lesson or two from it. And this has been brought to you by Also Us. We want to thank Also Us so much for partnering with us, and also for, as you can see, I have been dressed by Fashion Hive Arua, that is found just at the heart of Arua City at the new taxi park. They deal with different wares, office, party, dinner, casual, and all that. So you can contact them. We'll share with you the details of their contact. If you want to look elegant, ladies and gentlemen, you can visit them. It's a very beautiful place. And as West Nile TV, in case you want to partner with us in any way, in case you want to advertise your products and services, please feel free to contact us as West Nile TV, and we shall be able to reach out to you. And also we have 3 programs. Currently we are running 3 programs. That is the Trinity Show, which we'll be having every Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. And also we'll be having the Saturday Sports. That is from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Saturday. And then the Political Show, which is the Pressure Point. So we hope that you